Howdy, I'm Big Juicy, and I'm near Slidell, Louisiana, where the mosquito trucks run year-round. I'm here to relive the last moments of the Queen of Cleavage, a blonde bombshell that lived life in the fast lane, and whose reign was cut off short on a Louisiana highway. Hey, eyes up here. In the 1930s, Vera Jane Palmer was born in Pennsylvania and raised in New Jersey. When she was 3 years old, her father died. Her mother remarried and moved the family to Dallas. After graduating from the esteemed Highland Park High School in 1950, she married her high school sweetheart, Paul Mansfield. They had their daughter Jayne Marie 6 months later. After attending acting classes at Southern Methodist University and the University of Texas, Vera moved out to LA to pursue a career in acting. By this time, she started to go by Jayne Mansfield with a Y. Why? I don't know. She had some unsuccessful auditions with Paramount, but learned she needed to go blonde like her role model, Marilyn Monroe. She caught the attention of Hugh Hefner and posed in his new magazine, Playboy, just like her friend Marilyn did. Her husband, Paul, divorced her and sued for full custody of their daughter, claiming she was unfit because of her nude modeling. Jayne married her new fiancé, Mickey Hargitay, a few days after her divorce from Paul was finalized. She had 3 children, Miklos, Zoltan, and Mariska, and a bunch of affairs while married to Hargitay. Her career was taking off, and she landed lead roles in movies like The Girl Can't Help It, Too Hot to Handle, and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? It's believed this last film is the origin of the Hollywood superstition of not ending movie titles with question marks. Well, Jayne's popularity drew the attention of televangelist Billy Graham, who said, "I think the new generation coming along is far better acquainted with Jayne Mansfield's statistics than it is with the second commandment." What does Jayne Mansfield have to do with gun control? Well, Jayne was hotter than a $2 pistol. She invented the wardrobe malfunction and used it to gain publicity wherever she went. At the 1955 Cannes Film Festival, actress Sophia Loren got exposed to some of her antics. In this picture, you can see the concern on Sophia's face. Reflecting on the incident years later, she said she was so frightened that everything in her dress was going to blow, boom, and then spill all over the table. It was so provocative that even Italian newspapers refused to print the pictures. That same year, at a movie premiere, she was snubbed by her heroine, Marilyn Monroe, and it started a rivalry between the two bombshells that would last a lifetime. Well, at least for one of them. Monroe responded to Jayne's wardrobe malfunctions with one of her own. She staged a photo shoot standing over a subway grate with air blowing her dress up. Jayne ramped things up by stealing one of her lovers. After hearing about Marilyn's affair with President Kennedy, Jayne met up with Jack and had one of her own. Things continued to escalate to the point where Jayne faked her own shipwreck in the Bahamas. Well, finally, in August of that year, Jayne's heroine, Marilyn, died from a drug overdose. But not on heroin, barbiturates. And the rivalry ended. Jayne responded to the sobering news by saying, "Maybe I'm next." The affairs grew old, and Jayne and Hargitay divorced. Less than a month later, Jayne married Matt Cimber. They were married for less than a year and separated. In that short amount of time, they had a son named Tony. Jayne started slipping into a life of alcoholism. She began seeing her lawyer, Sam Brody. They would get into alcohol-fueled fights and get kicked out of parties and events. She was banned from Ireland by a Catholic bishop because of her reputation as a goddess of lust. Her life was going down the same road as Marilyn. She made a visit to Anton LaVey, the leader of the Church of Satan in San Francisco. LaVey made her a high priestess. This angered her boyfriend and lawyer, Sam Brody, so Anton LaVey cursed him to death. That November, her son Zoltan was mauled by a lion named Sammy at Jungleland, USA in Thousand Oaks, California. He suffered head trauma, contracted meningitis, and underwent brain surgery, but he survived. Sammy the lion did not, though. He was euthanized because of the attack. Anton LaVey felt he wasn't being specific enough in his curse on Sam, so he tried again with a stronger one. 6 months later, Sam Brody broke his leg in a car accident. The next week, Jayne wrecked a car as well while traveling with Brody. Anton LaVey warned Jayne that Brody was traveling under a dark cloud, but Jayne ignored him. In the summer of 1967, the summer of love, Jayne Mansfield traveled down to Biloxi, Mississippi with Brody and the 3 Hargitay children. She was hired for a 2-week engagement at Gus Stevens's On the Beach Supper Club. After finishing up the second of 2 performances on June 28th, Jayne and her entourage headed towards the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans. She wanted to get into town early for her appearance on WDSU's midday show the next day. Gus Stevens insisted they take his 1966 Buick Electra and even sent his employee, Ronnie Harrison, to drive them. She loaded her children, Miklos, Zoltan, and Mariska, in the back seat, while Ronnie Harrison, Sam Brody, the cursed lover, and Jayne piled into the front. Oh, and there were 4 chihuahuas, Momsicle, Popsicle, Dorothy, and Cal. In the wee hours of the morning, they headed across the Rigolets Bridge on Chef Mentor Highway. About a mile past the bridge, their car slammed into the back of an 18-wheeler that had slowed down for a mosquito truck. The fog from the mosquito truck had enveloped the trailer, and they never saw it coming. Their car ran up under the back of the trailer, tearing off the top of the roof and killing everyone in the front seat instantly. 2 of the 4 chihuahuas, Momsicle and Popsicle, were also killed. The 3 children were okay, though, along with the other 2 dogs, Dorothy and Cal. Photos of the crash scene show Jayne's wig tangled in the windshield of the wreckage, which fueled rumors that she was decapitated. But she wasn't. Mariska, who was only 3 at the time of the accident, went on to become a famous actress. She's best known for playing Olivia Benson on Law & Order, SVU. Although she doesn't remember much about the accident, she still has a scar on the side of her face from that awful summer night. So the next time you're driving down the highway and you see those bumpers with red and white stripes on the back of 18-wheelers, think of Jayne Mansfield and her short career in the fast lane. After all, they're called Mansfield bars for a reason. I'm Big Juicy, and this has been Big Juicy Tidbit number 14. Please subscribe to my channel to receive updates when new videos are posted. Also, visit my website at bigjuicytidbits.com to see additional content for each video. Remember, some people make history, and some people make up history. Until next time, keep it juicy.